What's up, my chatter boxes? If you guys haven't done so already, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that share button. Please tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Okay, so without further ado, this is my review for Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 1, Episode 1, The Stranger. So it starts off with Tasha. She's being led out the jail for her court case. So it's a female, guard that's leading, escorting her out. And the guard is just being really, rude and nasty to, Tasha. I don't know what her issue is because I'm pretty sure she ain't the only person up in there that's accused of killing her goddamn husband or accused of killing somebody. So I don't know what the thing is. So Tasha was telling her, well, he was abusing me. And she was like, yeah, it's a million other girls in here saying the same old thing. She said, I ain't buying it. Some shit she said or whatever. So she handed Tasha off to another guard, and she was like, if the locals don't keep you, I see your guilty ass later. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but I see this playing out more within the season with that guard. That guard got a bone to pick with Tasha for some reason. Who knows? We might find out, we might not, but I see it playing out a little bit further in the season. So we, as that's going on, now we see Tyrese. He meeting up with his sister Yaz and his grandmother. Now, is that a new Yaz or is that the same one? Because they barely show her last, in Power. So I'm not exactly sure if that's the same one. But she looked different from the other little girl. I don't know. They just slipped a new child in here on us. So Tyreek was the grandma wants Tyreek to come back, home with them. Tyreek saying no, it's important for him to stay in school. That's what the trust say and everything like that. So the grandma like, well, at a time like this, you should want to be with family. He was like, I do, but it's more complicated. Yes, want him to come home. And as they talking, Tamika walks up because she's defending Tasha. So she's telling them that listen, in order to get Tasha, less jail time or even home, we got to use this justification defense. And what that defense is basically saying that she has to admit that she killed them, but it was in self-defense. And y'all all know that Tasha had those bruises from when Ghost had gripped him up. So Kyrie like, well, she got to admit in open court that she, guilty. And she was like, yeah, that's the best defense. So she already, Tamika warned Tyreek that, listen, I'm going to be in there saying some nasty, dirty things about your dad. Are you up for that? He was like, yeah, I don't care. Because what you don't know, you talking to the actual killer. You think he care about what you saying about his dad going dead in open court when he the one laid his ass out? You don't know who you talking to. So they go into the courtroom and the prosecutor is trying to stick it to Tasha, saying that she did it in cold blood. Tamika, she wore that ass out in court first that because Tamika was like, listen, I'm going to prove that James St. Patrick is a sociopath, that he is capable of slitting throat just as much as he is capable of giving a speech. So the judge was like, you really want me to think the Democratic candidate for lieutenant governor is possible is that he was a murderer? And she was like, yes, and I tend to prove it. And she was, laid out the groundwork how Tasha, was abused and basically trying to make it seem like Tasha was this, victim of domestic violence and of under the helms of a sociopath. And the prosecution not trying to have that. Like they said, they laid out the case. Like she knew what she was doing. She tried to set her lover up to do it. She she had a gun. She went there to attempt to kill, and she executed her plan. So Tamika want her to get out with no bail. Get out on bail. But the judge wasn't going for it. She was like, no. She was like, she is is I'm sorry, I can't even get my words out. She is charged with first-degree murder. I'm not about to let her out into these streets. Like, no, she's remanded without bail, and that really is proper procedure, because when you have those kind of charges, I think they normally don't let you out on bail. So her when they said that Tasha, she's kind of crying. Her mom is crying, talking about no bail. Yes, acting Tyreek. Is mommy coming home? He said no, not now. It was just sad. It was just sad. So the DA had to call her boss or whatever, because they gotta see how they gonna proceed with that. I guess she wanted to see if he was gonna let her get a plea deal on the table. So Tamika, I think I said the name Tamika Mallory, Tamika, Tasha, and the DA, they met in, like one of those side rooms or whatever, trying to hash out some things. So Tamika laid out all these pictures of murder victims, and when they had showed Lala, you should see Tasha's face when she seen that picture of Lala dead body. Like, you could tell she was shook. You could tell they didn't pick up on it, but I did, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other viewers picked up on that, because we all know the Tasha one who killed her, but they trying to make it seem like it's Ghost, because it was like, I think the prosecutor was like, "Do you really believe your husband was capable of doing this?" He was like, so Tasha was like, "Yeah, I think it would have been me next." I'm looking like, you fucking dirty bitch, okay? Like, you dirty bitch. Like, I'm not saying Ghost innocent, because we all know he not. But Tasha, come on now. You ain't innocent either. So Tyreek is now rushing back to the school because he has a meeting with the admissions person, along with Stern. Because Stern, that was part of Stern and Tasha deal, that he'll get truth if he can get Tyreek into Stansfield or Stan Smith, whatever the school called. So he's honoring his part of the deal. But so when Tyreek get there, because he ran a little late, so Stern made a little comment about what your watch broke, something to that effect. And then I guess she like the dean, or yeah, I guess she's the dean or the admissions counselor or whatever. So she giving him this spiel about how African Americans have to be, on a game, basically on a game. This spiel that we as minorities get. You gotta, work twice as hard just to, be equal to your white counterparts, or to that effect. So he apologized, and he said he was dealing with a family emergency. So everybody do have a little sympathy towards, what he's going through, as far as his father just passed and his mother's arrested. So I think, yeah, she's the dean. So she was saying how, I was a little taken back by you trying to go to school so soon after your parents' situation. So Tyreek, that motherfucker he is so good with his words. I tell you, he was like, well, I think that this would be a refuge, so I can get away from my thoughts, And Stern looking at him like, oh, this motherfucker, he full of shit. But I like it. That's how he looking at it. Because, he was convincing. But this is the key. This is the kicker. They added a little extra layer onto the agreement that Tasha didn't agree to. So now they want Tyreek to actually basically do the Ezekiel guy homework. He's like a basketball player. Like, I guess he's like a top ranked basketball player, and they trying to keep him in the school, and they want Tyreek to do his damn work. But my thing is, you sitting up here talking to Tyreek, telling Tyreek, oh, how African Americans kind of, be on their A game and this and the other, but yet and still you about to sell the other young man down the river without having a good education just because he can play ball in order to help your school. You see the double standard in that? Like, you see like the hypocrisy in that? Like, oh my God, they kind of like irritated me with that. So they told Tyreek that, classes start tomorrow, and Tyreek, when they because he asked like, well, what class do y'all want me to tutor him in? And they basically was like, every class. And it's not that they want you to tutor him, they want you to do his work. They don't want you to tutor him. If he need help in every goddamn class, they want you to do his work. Oh my God, that's a lot. That's a lot of coursework. Your coursework, his coursework, and not to mention if y'all in separate classes and y'all don't take the same classes, so you doubling your coursework. And then when he's meeting with this professor, they want him to meet with her because I guess she get like kids acclimated to the campus, especially like Black African American kids or whatever like that. They assign her to them. So on his way meeting her, he ran into Laura, is her name. She play on something. I think she play on one of them Tyler Perry shows, The Oval. But did she play on a sitcom as a young kid? Was it My Wife and Kids? I don't know. She looked like the girl. But they all kind of grown up, so I don't know. She played on something. Anyway, so she was telling him about the class that the advisor that he's about to see teaches. She was telling him about that class, and she said it would be great if you come in on that class. She said because it's only 4 Black kids in there, and she was like, so basically she's saying it's other Black kids in there, but they like Oreos. She said he's dipped in chocolate outside, but it's all white in the middle. So she said it would be good to have another Black person that will be able to call a white person out on their shit. And sometimes it's stronger. We stronger in numbers in certain situations. So she advised. He looked like he kind of interested in her, like she was intriguing to him. So she was like, "Well, I'll see you around." So she went her own way. He went and to the meeting with the advisor. So she giving him this spiel again, how, it could be very hard for, Black students on this campus, how it was hard for her parents. I think she coming from an interracial family. She was like, but, the school is dedicated to changing things around. The world is different. So he was saying, listen, I don't understand why they wanted me to meet with you. He was like, because I've been going to all white schools all my life. So she was like, well, I think it's a little bit more about to do with your, family life, your mom and your dad. So he was like, So then he went in to tell her about, he heard about her, the course that she teach, and that it'll allow him to graduate 1 year earlier than what, he would. She was like, well, yeah. She was like, it's a lot of coursework. She was like, a lot of kids that do finish that course successfully, they are able to graduate a year earlier, but a lot of them stay. She was like, she said, like, you just got here. Why do you want to leave? And he was like, I got to help out with my mom and my sister. So she gave him, the book, I guess that they got it. Because in order to get into that class, you have to do a verbal presentation. So he's saying like, listen, I'm here to do the work. I need to do the work. He was like, I'm not trying to get no free rides or anything like that. But I need to, he said, I just want you to give me a chance. And she looked intrigued by him. But something about her looking at him, I'm like, is she going to really be trying to mess with Tyreek? I don't know. She look intrigued by him or like sexually aroused by him. I don't know. I got like a little weird feeling from him. And Tyreek looked like a little boy, so I don't understand how you could be I don't even want to say it. So now we see Tasha, she talking to Tamika, and the DA is offering her 4 years probation. That's all she got to do is to admit to criminally negligent homicide. But it's some lingering details because her ex told them that he knew that Tasha knew the exact time that Ghost was going to be alone. So Tasha said, so Tamika said to Tasha, she was like, the only way you would know that if someone gave you the cue that he was alone. Who gave you the cue that he was alone? And Tasha was like, nobody. She was like, it has to be somebody. Somebody had to tell you. There's no way of you knowing it. And she was like, in order, for you to get this deal, you got to tell the truth. She was like, because the prosecutor can ask you these questions in open court. And if you seem to perjure yourself or anything like that, you gonna go to jail and I'm gonna lose my license. So I need to know the truth. So Tamika was like, is it your son? And Tasha was like, no. She was like, I'm your lawyer. She was like, and if you covering up for your son, I can't help you. So Tamika know that Tasha is covering up for Tariq, because who else would you go hard for and hide this secret for? That's your ex-husband, the father of your children. Who means that much to you in your life that you will cover for? It gotta be your son. It gotta be your son. So Tasha fired Tamika ass on the spot. And she was like, do you know you'll go to jail without? Tasha was like, get out. I mean it, get out. So Tamika got her shit enrolled. But Tasha, you might overplay your hand. Y'all used to pulling, tricks out of your hair, out of your head, in other situations. But Ghost always was the mastermind behind this shit. I know they trying to make Reek Ghost number 2. I hope he stand up to the plate, because y'all need a prayer and a miracle. So Tamika, she called Tariq and she told him that Tasha fired her. And, she's the best shot at Tasha, getting free. She was like, your mom is in a lot of trouble. She was like, and she won't name her her accomplice. And she was like, I think you know who it is. So Tariq was like, well, did she say anything? She was like, no, because I'm under, confidentiality with my client. She was like, so even if I wanted to say something, I can't say it. She was like, but I do think you know who, the other person is. And Tariq sounded no stupid. So she was like, your mom need a lawyer, a good lawyer to represent her that doesn't care about the truth. So Tariq is like, well, what lawyer doesn't care about the truth? So then we see him in court looking at Method Man's character. He's defending this. You could tell the guy, he was accused of stealing something. You could tell he was a slickster. You could tell he looked like he was guilty or whatever, but he was cleaned up nice suit. And, Method Man giving a little show in the courtroom. So I guess he's supposed to be like this, top-notch lawyer, but maybe like a greaseball. So Tariq ended up, following him when he, adjourned out of court. And he was like, Method Man was like, I got a meeting across town. I don't have no time to take no pictures. Tariq was like, I ain't trying to take no picture with you. He was like, I need to hire you. My mom is in jail for killing my father. So he was like, oh, you the St. Patrick kid. You the St. He was like, yeah. He was like, well, I'm going to give you some advice. Don't let your parents' mistakes define who you are, kid. And I give you that advice for free. So Tariq was like, no, I don't need your advice. I need to hire you to defend my mom. How much will it take? So he said $500K liquid. He was like, you get that, then we can talk. So I don't know where Tariq gonna come up with this money, but we all know he's a slickster. He'll figure it out. Because now Tommy nowhere to be found, so it's just him. We see Tariq, he going through Tasha's belongings because he's trying to look for Epiphanies. That she was the stripper that Tasha used to watch her son at the daycare, but Epiphany also used to move Tasha drugs at the strip club. So he's looking for her. So because he got to come up with that $500K. So he's trying to see if she can move it through the strip club again for him. So as he's looking for it, the grandmom's coming in there and she trying to tell him that he should stay with them. At a time like this, he need to open up and, express how he's feeling. She was like, you need us. He was like, no, y'all need me. He was like, you need me. My mom need me. Yaz need me. Y'all all need me to finish school so I can get the money for the trust so I can help out. So the grandmom looking like, oh, maybe he right. Like, what I'm saying? Like that, like, she was stunned by it, but he talking with some sense right here. So he was like, if you want to help me, just help me find, when I'm looking for far as, the books that my mom kept. So she don't know exactly why he want to find those books, but we all know what that's in connection to. So as he's looking for the paperwork, Tasha's calling. So she talked to her mom. She talked to her Yaz. So she ended up talking to Tyreek on the phone. So Tyreek goes upstairs on the phone. The grandma was pissed that he didn't really want her to listen to the call, because she was like, well, why can't I listen? Y'all let the jail people, the guards listen, and why can't I listen? So he goes upstairs and, he asked her, why did she fire Tamika? And she was like, well, how you know that? She was like, because he said, well, she called me and told me, now I need to find you a lawyer. So she was like, don't worry about that. She said, I got a public defender. Now, God daggone well, you better come in there with a good lawyer and not no public defender when you on a capital murder charge. And not just a capital murder charge, because I have a relative that beat his capital murder charge with a public defender. But the thing about that is, you have a high profile client, a high profile victim that you allegedly murdered. You ain't gonna beat that case with no public defender. You're not gonna beat that case with a public defender. And my cousin, he was actually innocent of the crime, but he was able to prove his innocence with the public defender. But you're not gonna be able to prove that, not with killing James St. Patrick. So you can forget that shit. Anyway, so when Tyreek was talking to Tasha, he said to her, he was like, you remember the name of that parent you used to always talk to me about? She had the weird job at night. So Tasha knew exactly what he was talking about. She was like, no, you gonna promise me you gonna just go to school, you gonna fly right? No, don't worry about that. We all right. And he was like, okay. So she already know her son. She know her son ain't listening to her. She already know. He found the page with Epiphany information on. Now he waiting outside the club for Epiphany. Epiphany is one ratchet ass girl, and I love every minute of it. Okay. So when she was walking past, she was like, where do I know you from? So he was like, my mom used to keep your son at her daycare. He was like, oh yeah. She was like, oh yeah, you Tasha's son. Aren't you a little too young to be hanging out here? She was like, so he explained to her why he needed her. So she was like, no, because Tasha, I told the block always hot when it's around Tasha. So she didn't even know that Tasha was locked up. He just told her. She was like, oh, a bitch need to watch the news a little bit more. So she was like, well, since I owe your mom a favor, I'll help you out, but you gotta get your own product. So it's on now. It's on now. So we have that. I guess she's like an advisor, but she's also a professor. So we have the lady that Tyreek was talking to, trying to get into that class. So she went to another professor, another black guy, pleading her case, because he was pissed off. He was like, well, why? He was like, I thought we were all done with, admissions to that class. He was like, and I got another interview popped up on my calendar. So she was pleading her case for him and things like that. So I guess he like pro-black or whatever like that, but bias being that Tyreek is not a street kid. He not, he was actually he was actually pushed into that school because of privilege. He was like, he don't need us to go above and beyond for him. He already, on another level. He's not the average black kid. You know what I mean? So she was like, oh, so since he don't come from the hood, he don't deserve our help. He come from, messed up circumstances. His dad is dead. His mom is in jail. So basically they came up with a situation because you could tell they had something going on, and they had a relationship that I guess he didn't want to end, that she broke up with him. So it's some friction here. So he said, well, if he can prove himself to me, then I'll go with you and plead our case to, I guess, the head person in charge in regards to getting students into that program. He was like, and I doubt if he'll pass the test. Well, we'll see, because you don't know Tyreek. So we see Tyreek, he's entering his dorm room, and he meets up with he didn't even expect the guy to be in his room. But it was that white guy that he was in last season when he was in that school with Effie and them. I forgot his name. So Tyreek was shocked that he was there. He was like, I didn't know you was, here. He told him that all his family go there. They built the auditorium and the goddamn swimming pool. So he trying to reconnect with Tyreek so they can, be bros and meet a bunch of girls and everything like that. Tyreek telling him like, no, I got, I'm trying to study for like the colonical studies class. He was like, that don't nobody want to go there. He was like, people fail. He was like, college supposed to be fun. That's not no class you need to take. He was like, I don't have no time to be having fun. He said, I gotta get out of here. He was like, I need to move. This was Tyreek saying. He was like, I need to move. I gotta do what I gotta do. So he said, Tyreek, excused himself. Well, he politely gave the guy the cue to get out. He was like, listen, I'll hit you up later or whatever. He was like, I got some stuff I gotta do. So the guy left. But before he left, he was telling her about Effie got into Yale. So he must have gave him Effie. He gave Tyreek Effie information. So Tyreek met up with Effie, and she was telling him like it wasn't no, hard feelings between them. She said she barely could pay for books. She had to take out the competition. Tyreek was the competition. So she thought that Tyreek was really just about to buy this product off of her. Tyreek got the product, and she was like, oh, you're not going to pay me for it? He was like, no, it ain't personal, it's just business. And she kind of smiled it off or whatever, because, he owed you that. He owed you that. So our boy Tyreek thought he was going to bull his way through this meeting with the professors to try to get into that class. So they were asking him questions. At first, it seemed like he was going to be able to pull it off, but then they was like, well, what did you think about the end of the book? And he like, He couldn't think. He couldn't come up with nothing. He couldn't bullshit his way out of that. So he had to confess that he didn't even read the book. So I thought he lost them at that particular point. He lost the white guy, but the other two black people, they argued for him to be able to represent it. So we'll see if they allow him to represent his case or whatever like that. But he got too much going on, and you can't always bullshit your way through every goddamn thing. And this was prime example that you couldn't bullshit your way through it, and he almost did not pull that shit off. Well, he didn't pull it off, but they just willing to give him a second chance. So now we see Tasha. She's talking to her public defender, and the public defender is a whole hot ass mess. She got all these papers everywhere. She too bubbly, too bubbly, too giddy. And my thing is, if I'm fighting for my life on murder, I don't want all this nonsense. I don't want all this chaos. I need you to know what the hell you're doing and really fight for me. But we all know the public defenders, they all are overworked. That's why a lot of times a lot of people, get incarcerated or do time because they are overworked. They don't have the resources to put all their energy into one client. So the prosecutor came in and was like, well, listen, we know you didn't kill him. The person that killed him is 5 feet something tall. The trajectory doesn't, support evidence that you pulled the trigger. So we know it was someone else. So they trying to force her to name somebody. So her lawyer was like, well, why are we here? Like, it's accessory after fact. She was like, no. She was like, the bias being that she tried to set up her ex, and her ex told them certain things is accessory. So they want her to give up who the person was. So she said Andre Coleman. Because, Dre already did any goddamn way. So no harm, no foul. He can't dispute it. He's dead. It seems like a win-win for Tasha. It seems like a win-win. And that daggone, so she excused herself out of there. The prosecutor excused herself out of there. It was like, we gonna see if this check out. They got daggone, public defender gonna say, 10 years, 10 to 15 years, it seemed like a lot of time, but it's really not a lot of time. The fuck it ain't? Who you talking about ain't a lot of time? What? You go, okay, well, if it ain't a lot of time, you go there, do my time for me, and then when you get out in 15 years, you tell me that it wasn't a lot of time. That's how we gonna work that shit out. Because if you ain't in my shoes, I don't think you need to be saying those words. So Stephen and John is in Sack's office. So when Sack come in there, He looking like, what the fuck is going on? So they're there because Stephen is the head of the Democratic party. I guess like the campaign stuff, and they trying to do everything in their power not to bring out all the ghost dealings because that will damage, the reputation, the reputation of the Democratic Party. So they didn't do, good screening on them. They, endorsed a criminal. So they not trying to have that. So John and Stephen trying to force Sex to prosecute Tasha under the kingpin status. Whereas though they trying to make it seem like she was like the head of the organization and everything like that. And Sex, he's not trying to do that. He was like, she might have known what he was doing. She might be an accomplice, but she's not the head of the organization. He was like, this is not a federal case. This is for the locals. So Stephen, he stormed out. John threatened Sex. He was like, you better remember who got you this job as the U.S. attorney. He was like, just like I gave it to you, I can take it away. So now he dangling his job over his head. And then, Sex was already going to get locked the hell up because he was doing a lot of criminal stuff. So we got to see how this going to turn out. It ain't looking too good for Tasha. The deck is continue to be stacked against her ass. So we finally see who this Ezekiel is, but we see him because Tariq walks into the dorm and he banging this chick out. And she all like, you didn't shut the door. You didn't lock the door. And all while they going back and forth, Tariq still standing there. He telling Tariq, give me 5 minutes. She was like, oh, no. Basically, you better not be finishing in 5 minutes. So Tariq ended up leaving out. As Tariq leaving out, the guy signaled to him, no, it's going to be 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, you a little minute brother or whatever like that. So after he busting her ass out, now we see Sex. He's at his house. I didn't know Sex came from money. He come from money. So he could walk into this beautiful home. And cause he got like that little crappy apartment he got, but his parents, they loaded. So I guess they're celebrating the fact that he is now the U.S. attorney. So they at the dinner table, and I ain't gonna make it a black and white thing, but them damn jokes was not. You could tell it wasn't no black people telling them. That was some corny ass goddamn banter back and forth. Like, oh my God. So they call him Nancy. I don't know where you get the name from, but they call him Nancy. So they was just congratulating him and about his job and everything like that. So after the dinner was over, you see his dad, and his brother. So apparently him and his brother got some kind of sibling rivalry or whatever going on. So the dad was, let him know how proud he was and how he, restored civil service back to the family name. How those rich families always trying to protect the family name. So the brother was like, well, somebody's retiring. He was like, it's probably a position. I forgot what kind of position he said where he worked. He was like, you don't know what this this dinner is? It's all for the purpose of celebrating my new job as the U.S. District Attorney. So the brother was like, I know how you are under pressure. You do stupid stuff. He was like, you probably already did something to get fired already. He was like, it ain't going to last. He was like, because Sex, I don't need you. You my younger brother. I don't need you to get me no job. He was like, not for now. And he walked away. He already knows Sex is the fuck up. Everybody know it. So moving on from that dry ass scene, we finally meet Ezekiel's family. So Ezekiel's family is Mary J. Blige is his aunt. Because he tells Tariq that he came from down the south, but he came up there and stayed with his aunt and them, because of the basketball thing. And that party was in celebration because he got into Stansfield. And everybody wanted to meet Tariq because they know Tariq is going to be the one who's doing his goddamn work. So when we get in there, the party is lit. And so he was telling him how, it's his aunt and I think he said his 2 or 3 cousins or something like that. And Tariq had mentioned how, he don't have much family. And he's right, because when you looked at it, it was just always him, it was just always the immediate family, no outside family, but aside from the grandma. Like, you know what I mean? I consider grandma immediate too. So they didn't have any interaction with any other family, which was weird. But I guess when you in that lifestyle, I kind of see why they kept they circles as tight as they did. So when you go in there, the party, like I said, the party is lit. Everybody happy to see Ezekiel. It was just lit. Tariq seemed to be enjoying what he, see. He liked the vibe. He liked everything. Ezekiel introducing him to everybody. So they go towards the back. But before Tariq goes outside, he asks where the bathroom is. So when he goes to the bathroom, he see Kane, which is Woody from, he played Bobby Brown, and he is an excellent actor. I kind of like him in this. Like, Woody, I like you in this. I do. I like you in this. So anyway, Woody getting a blowjob, okay? But what we don't know is that girl he getting a blowjob by ain't his girl, okay? So they goes outside the party, Ezekiel, he introduced them to his cousin, and you can see that they immediately got like an attraction. So Tariq was telling her how I was trying to go to the bathroom, but it was some guy in there, with some girl. And then when Woody came out, Kane came out, he was like, that's him. He was in there with some girl. He was like, oh. She was like, that must be his boyfriend. I mean, her boyfriend. So all hell broke loose. So the boy was out here looking for the girl, his girl. Woody came down the steps, and he was like, the boy confronted Woody, and Woody was like, why you asking me about your girl? And as the girl coming down, he was like, oh, that's your girl? And then the boy pushed him, Woody pushed him back. It was just like, whatever. So Woody ended up punching him in the face. Next thing you know, you see Mary J. Blige coming out. She told Ezekiel to go up in the house. She was like, Kane can handle himself. So I guess that family is about they got their going business. So the boy ended up leaving. Mary J. Blige character, she said to him, she was like, to Woody, she was like, well, he gonna come back. And he was like, yeah, he probably just gonna go get something. So she was like, well, you know how to handle that. So I'm like, okay, Woody Kane, he gonna be a gun on this joint. I'm all for it. So the guy come back. He's calling for Kane. Mary J. Blige telling him to just go on about his business. He's telling her, oh, he can't hide behind you forever. She like, he ain't hiding behind you. He right behind you, ready to blow your brains out. He turns around. Woody got a shotgun. As he got the gun to him, the cops pull up. So Woody, he fall back. The cops come. Mary J. Blige, she talks. I forgot her name on here. I can't catch her name on here. So she talks to the cop. But I got a feeling that the cops and her got some kind of arrangement going on, because it was too calm. The cops didn't search nobody. They ain't come look. You know what I mean? Like it was just too calm of a situation. So all that's going on. The guy leave. Tariq and Ezekiel cousin. I can't catch her name too. I had it and then I lost it. I'm sorry. I'll get the names better by next episode. This is fresh. So she was like, so he was looking at his phone. Tariq was looking at his phone. So she's like, oh, who's that, your girlfriend? And he was like, no. He was like, but I gotta go though. And then she giving him like the little flirty eyes and stuff like that. So he stepped off. Like, you know what I mean? Like Tariq, he's growing into his own. I'm telling you, he's a grown man now. Stuff don't look like it's gonna be working out for Tasha too much, because Cooper, he's shaking in his boots after, John and them came to him with their little situation. So now he's at Tamika's house trying to see what she know, and she basically telling him, if you're the witness, or if you're the person that she's trying to abstain from naming, you are in some big trouble. She was like, and I don't want no parts of it. She was like, but what I do know that Tasha's gonna be under extremely a lot extreme pressure to name an accomplice. She was like, and if you had anything to do with it, your ass going to jail. And she was like, I don't want no parts of it. So she ended up kicking his ass out. And she was like, we haven't talked. I don't see you. I mean, I don't know you. This conversation never happened. She was like, because I don't want to have to be subpoenaed to, tell the truth. Because if I have to tell the truth, I will. And he was like, well, technically you don't. And she kicked his ass out. So he grasping at straws at this particular point. And we all knows what happens when sex his wheels start spinning. We already know. So Woody, aka Kane, he must be a whole gun on here. So you remember the fight I was telling you about that he had with the guy over the girl. So he pulls up and waited for the guy in the hallway. The guy coming up the steps. Woody he shot him, blew him away. And then he was smiling as he was doing it. And I don't know. I don't think he the best looking guy, but Woody's sexy to me. He's sexy to me. Tell me what y'all think about that. I don't think he all that. Like, he ain't drop dead gorgeous, but he got a sex appeal about him. He really do. So he gets in the car with his mom, Mary J. Blige. Like I said, I'll learn her. I forgot her name. I'll get it next episode. They didn't say nothing. She just wiped the blood from off his face. She had a little smirk, and they pulled off. Now we see Tariq. He's at, the dorm. He's at the dorm with Ezekiel. And Ezekiel was like, well, I don't know. He was like, I already was up. I went to the gym. I'm showering now. He got to go practice, something like that. He was like, you sure you can handle my caseload? He was like, cause he got to do like a paper on Moby Dick. Tariq was like, I got it. He was like, well, as long as you know what you're doing. He was like, cause I don't want to have to find somebody else. Like, nigga, he doing your work. And I understand it, but I understand you want it done, but if you had the brains, your ass to be doing it your goddamn self. Like, come on. What if you have an injury and stuff? What's going to happen to you? You got to think about that. So, Sax, he sees. So, Lauren texts him as he was talking to Ezekiel. She wanted to meet up with for coffee or whatever like that. So, he's going to meet up with her. But Sax, he goes following the DA. And she was like, oh, I should have got a restraining order on you because I guess they had some kind of like past dealings. He was like, nah, I'm not on a social call. I'm about business. So he's trying to get information on the St. Patrick case. So she tells him that, it's going great now that Tamika is off the case because Tamika must be a shark. But Tasha didn't want Tamika because Tamika too smart. She figured that shit out. So now that he knows that they offering the plea, I don't know. Sax, it's a lot of moving parts with this. We got to see how this play out. I forgot the scene when Tariq was in the club. Him and his guy, the white guy that he's friends with, they were in a strip club because he had to drop off the product for Epiphany. And that was funny because the stripper, she was all seduced, how the strippers do, all dancing on them, seducing them. And the white boy was like, oh, do you take credit cards? Because I don't have no money on me, but my mom gave me this and I can use it. She was like, I don't take credit card, but I take Bitcoin. Some shit she said. Girl, I was like, oh my gosh, she about to have him bust on himself right in his pants. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so fast forward. Now we see Tariq. He at the diner with Lauren, and he's a little cocky because he's talking about, oh, you couldn't wait for me to text you. You reached out to me first. She was like, pipe down. So the professor asked her to talk to him because he basically didn't do good with, his presentation about the book. And she told him that they were willing to give him a second chance. So he did end up reading the book. So they had a good dialogue in reference to the book. And it was very telling because Tariq was saying that, the guy in the book had a choice and he chose to kill whoever he killed, and he was like, and he knew the consequences behind those actions before he did it. And I'm saying to myself, well, Tariq, you knew the consequences to your actions after you killed your dad, and now look at the tangled web that we weaving. You know what I'm saying? Your mom is in jail. You still don't want her. She still don't want to, name you as the shooter. But it's obviously that it was another shooter. Y'all tried to blame it on Dre because we find out when Sax meet him there and pull him out. We find out that Sax telling him that, I don't know why your mom is still in jail. We had a good, deal for her. She should be out by now. They didn't know that he was the reason why Tamika took the case. He was like, well, we can get Tamika back on the case. I got money. He was like, it's not about money. Tamika is not going to perjure herself. She's not going to do anything unethical. So um, he was saying, we already can confirm that it wasn't Dre. He had no GSR on his clothing. And so that's when Saxe was like, hold up, you told me it was Dre too. And Tyreek was like, that's because my mother told me that it was Dre. So Saxe was like, you have to tell your mother to name her accomplice. If she don't name her accomplice, she's going to go to jail. So Tyreek basically blackmailed him. He was like, listen, if you can't get my mom out, I'm gonna have to let them know that I seen you at truth. So Saxe like, you don't have to let my anyone know that you seen me at truth. Yes, you know Tyreek is a dirty dog. You already know he gonna pull out all the strings to get Tasha out of jail. Saxe, he still got you by the ball. So we see Tyreek, he's at the dorm where Ezekiel and his the white guy at. So he asked for Ezekiel phone so he can do a live. And Ezekiel like, what you want to use my phone for? You live? So he was like, so the white guy was like, well, you can use my phone. He was like, I don't want to use your phone. You ain't got as many followers as Ezekiel. He was like, I need to do it to help my mom out. So Ezekiel let him use the phone. So what he did was he basically called out Method Man name in regards to, trying to help represent his mom. So he called him out, and so everything blew up on social media. Method Man, he on like the ferry boat, and that's why you see him getting all these text messages and stuff like that. So of course he's gonna try to save face. So he ended up reaching out to Tyreek and told Tyreek to meet him, I guess at the old church or something, like in 15 minutes. So Tyreek met him there. So they were talking, and once he agreed that he'll take the case, Tyreek said, can I trust you? So he was telling him, the information in regards to the case and stuff like that. And he told Tyreek, it doesn't make sense that the DA want to give your mom this deal if, she got those kind of murder charges. So he was telling him how they want her to name the accomplice and everything like that. So he knows a little bit more and all that other stuff. So he said, I'm going to tell you, he said the truth don't always set nobody free. So he ended up taking the case. Tyreek gave him some money, and he was like, I'm gonna need he said, I'm gonna need the rest in the week. So Tyreek said, like, you'll have your money in a week. So now he meets up with Tasha. So he made a little joke that you raised that kid. He was like, he was like, he made a little joke saying something about, I don't know if that was a good thing or I should be reporting you to social services or whatever like that. Because Tyreek is a piece of work. So she was like, he got you here. So they were going over the details of the case, and he was telling him how the deal. So she was like, that's the same deal that Tamika got me. He was like, yeah, but in this case, you got to tell the whole truth. They not putting up with you lying. She was like, I already named Andre. They was like, they already know he wasn't the killer. He didn't have no GSR in his clothes. Like, who is the killer? So Tasha wasn't really trying to tell him. She seen that Tasha was reluctant. He seen that Tasha was reluctant. And Tasha was like, so he said to her what Tyreek told him. So Tasha was like, he said that, and he was like, yeah, because Tyreek told her, say that, told him to tell her, tell the truth and stop protecting him. I'm no longer scared. If you care about me, you'll tell the truth. So I guess that was hint for them to name another accomplice. And we all know who that accomplice that they want to try to name next or whatever. So we'll see. So we're in a courtroom. Everything looks like it's going to go in Tasha's favor. Method Man, he's arguing, as to why she, shouldn't be, convicted and, all these different things. So it was supposed to be, they were just arguing for simply because of the plea deal thing. So when meaning Tasha, named Tommy as the trigger man, that opened up the door for Saxe and the other guy to be able to put the kingpin status on Tasha. So the prosecution wanted to interject, so they was like, well, so Method Man was like, what do you want to interject from? She told the truth. She said, well, I have one question. She was like, why would Tommy, his best friend, want to kill him? And that's when Tasha blurred out, because I told him so. So that's when Saxe was, his hands was forced because the guy was right there, in his ear. He was like, we got her, Kingpin. So he talked to the DA right there, showed her the paperwork. She dismissed all charges, and they thought it was a win, but it wasn't. So what happened was, when she was able to drop the charges, they was able to rearrest Tasha on federal charges. So all hell breaking loose. So Method Man and Saxe, having a little altercation, saying, this isn't a federal case, this is a state case, you already know. He was like, well, now it is. So when he looked at the paperwork, he goes to Tariq. Method Man said to Tariq, what do you get me in, kid? What do I not know about your mother? So Tariq said, listen, this is the biggest case of your career. He was like, after we get my mom off, we're going to take Saxe down, and the U.S. attorney. He was like, you're going to be the biggest defense attorney in New York City. So Method Man was like, you owe me $450,000, kid. This is the appetizer. Now we ready for the 4-course meal. So game fucking on. This stuff about to get popping. And I said I wasn't going to do no review for this episode. For this season. I was not interested. But I will say, Tariq is holding his own in this, and the storyline is really, really good. It's really, really good. So we see Tariq now. He's back at the library, and he's writing the Moby Dick report for Ezekiel, and everything seemed to be working out for him. He got accepted into the Colonium, science that course. And now, everything is working out for him. So we will see what happens next episode. I'm sorry that this video is a little bit too long, but it was hard to condense all this up in 30 minutes.